Hi everyone, my name is Julie and I have the opportunity to be a guest today with Waffle Flower Crafts. Today I'm going to be creating a card using the Happy Days Stamp and Die set by Big Bear and Bird. I'm going to create a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch card and start by creating the background of my card on a separate piece of cardstock. From the stamp set, I'm going to be using the sentiments "Today is" and "A good day to be happy" and place them on some Tim Holtz acrylic stamping blocks. For this background, I wanted to make sure that I use stamping blocks with grid lines. I'm going to use some hickory smoked distress ink and use the graph paper for my stamping tool to use as a guide with the stamping block. I wanted to create a banner look with each saying going off the page across the background and alternate them down the cardstock. Using the grids on the stamping block and lining them up with the lines on the graph paper really helped me keep the words in a straight line as much as possible. Since this is a background, I decided to use hickory smoke instead of black so that the words don't stand out too much in the background against my die-cut bear. Now that my background is stamped, next I'm going to use some Ranger ink Distress Oxides and blend each of the colors in random places around the cardstock to create a colorful background. The colors that I'm going to be using today are Cracked Pistachio, Broken China, Worn Lipstick, and Fossilized Amber. Since these are a mixture of dye and pigment ink, they have a little bit of a different look and are more opaque than Distress inks. I'm going to spray some water on our background and then use a drying tool to create the oxidized and chalky look. Now that our background is done, I'm going to start working on our bear. I'm going to use some Distress Oxide ink again in Vintage Photo and blend some ink on another piece of cardstock. I'm going to blend the ink in just a small section so I can place my bear stamp over the area that is brown. And again, I'm going to mist the ink with water using a mini mister, which will give my bear a textured look. I'm also going to dry this really well before I stamp and emboss so that the embossing powder only sticks to the inked area. I'm going to place my stamp with the bear section only over the brown ink and use a stamping tool with some black ink to stamp the image. While the ink is still wet, I'm going to use some clear embossing powder to make the black ink glossy so that there's a nice contrast between our bear and the background. Next, I'm going to use the matching die and cut our bear out to remove the excess brown that's around our bear. So using the same color Distress inks, I'm going to use a water brush pen and fill in the flowers and wheels of the bike. I just lift the ink with my brush directly from the ink pad, but make sure that I don't squeeze any of the water out of the brush onto the ink pad. Now that our bear is complete, I'm going to place our bear on the background using some Tombow adhesive. And then I'm going to use some 3M tape to adhere our background onto our card. To add a little bit of sparkle, I'm going to use some iridescent sequins, which match really well with the colors of our Distress Oxides. I'm just going to place them randomly around the card, and now our card is complete. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks so much for stopping by.